And welcome back to the Business Spotlight. I'm Pat Dewar. Today we've got Dave Swift on the air with us, and he's helping business owners and professionals market better. And we're talking about the unwavering laws of marketing. So with that, Dave, this time we want to give a couple more and really explain what is the law of the opposite.
The law of the opposite is a really important one, because it's really tough to unseat number one. And we talked a little bit in the last segment about how Avis took a little different approach. They acknowledged they were number two, therefore they were more believable to everyone who heard that message. And then they also identified something that was wrong with the first one. The law of the opposite says if you're shooting for that second place, which is really, if there's a big established person, that's where you're going first, your strategy is determined by the leader. You look at what they're doing, you discover their essence, and you present the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't try to be better, you try to be different. So let me say that again, don't try to be better, try to be different. There are those who want to buy from a leader. They like buying from a leader. There are those who don't. They like the opposite.
Well, because they figure that the leader is probably overpriced because they've gotten,
complacent,
in a sense,
they're not as
fat and
innovative,
happy.
they know the way the marketplace works. They know that the leader is probably going to be getting efficient as opposed to being better.
Right.
Okay. There are those who say, if they're the leader, I always want to be with the leader. So that's the way it goes. So by positioning yourself against the leader, you appeal to those who dislike buying from the leader, but you also take business away from everybody else below you or around you who's trying to emulate the leader ineffectively.
What's an example of somebody that did that real well?
I think one of those, well, clearly Avis that we just talked about, but another one was the old medicine breath thing with, I want to say Crest, but it wasn't Scope, it was Scope.
Right.
They basically had identified that there was a weakness, or there was a side effect.
Oh, like Listerine had this yucky taste. And
definitely was number one, but it gave you medicine breath. It made it taste, it just, when you got around somebody with that, their breath smelled medicine-y.
Right.
So what they did was they say, okay, we're going to be the opposite. We're going to make your breath smell great. Okay, and by the way, we're also going to kill the germs. So they took the opposite approach, because Listerine was saying, we're so strong, we kill germs, we're a germicidal, we're a hospital, blah, 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 blah. So you don't want to walk around smelling like a hospital on your breath? Fine, try us. We can do that. The last thing is, if you have a strategy and it's working, stick with it. We mentioned before Avis being bought and trying a different strategy, even though it was working so well. An example of somebody who's been true to that is Dove. Dove soap. They came out as a soap, something to wash your face and all that with. But they called themselves a beauty bar and said they had cream in there and so on and so forth. And that was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They are still Dove Beauty Bar and Dove Beauty this and Dove Beauty that, as they have expanded into other areas. So those are things where the law of the opposite becomes very potent. In terms
I've even
of,
seen cultures come out of those things. Like in the early days with Apple, they were like a cult, you know, in the way that and then they kind of became the big company, and they almost lost it when they had kicked Jobs out. When he came back in, he recreated the cult.
That's correct. And again, it was that group of people that don't want to buy from the leader. They want to buy from the non-leader because they don't trust leadership, they don't trust government, they don't trust whatever. Okay. The next law is the law of division. And all you have to do is look around you today and you see it. And that is, over time, a category will divide and become two or more categories. So it's like an amoeba dividing in a petri dish. The marketing arena is an ever-expanding sea of categories and subcategories and sub-sub-subcategories. And whether it's, you can think of all the car types and categories we have, the beer types and categories we have, the music types and categories we have, just as major categories that have basically...
Even in the medical stuff, all the different subcategories of medicine.
All those things. It's just a natural order of things because people think of ways to apply these marketing laws. Even if they don't know the laws, some of them are pretty obvious once you get in the trenches. You say, I'm tired of butting my head up against this. I got to try something different. You don't know why you're doing it. What we're trying to do today and with these 2 shows is to help you understand options that you have that you can try so you don't get as bloody beating yourself up to begin with. But each segment has its own reason for existence and its own leader. And the leader of a subsegment is very rarely the leader of the original category. And the leader of the original category very rarely ever can take over a subcategory if it's properly done. And therefore, it's also better to brand differently as you create new categories. So Toyota, which had a perception of not being luxury, went in a new category, luxury car, but they called it Lexus.
Right.
And it was a tremendous success.
Well, I have to admit, I mean, even there, I loved the marketing that Lexus rolled out. The first commercial blew me away. That whole pyramid of glasses,
champagne glasses. There, yes.
Oh my gosh. Today we're talking about the immutable, unwavering, ironclad laws of marketing. This is Business Spotlight. We'll be right back.
Staying involved in dentistry on every level, local, state, and national, makes me a better dentist. Our patients are our life and our livelihood, and we appreciate every single patient that walks in that door. And these are our family, and we treat them that way.